Welcome everyone. This is the very first Bawnjourno Podcast. The focus of today is Cowboy Bebop, and your host for today is Gabris Minelli, myself. Together is my partner in crime,
Hello, Joseph Gower.
and we have a special guest from Germany.
Robert Swiatowski. Hi, everyone.
Okay, so this is the very first of the Bawnjourno Podcast, and Bawnjourno is already a project going on for a couple of years, and it started with collaboration between two guys working in the art field, and we have made a comic series, and we are working on an animation short movie, and this is the third project for now, and it's a podcast. And a podcast, it's about this podcast is about popular culture and something that is a classic value, something that extended the passing of time, and this is the case of Cowboy Bebop. So what we did, it's really simple. We invite you guys in this conversation, and we have watched again the first episode, Asteriod Blues of Cowboy Bebop, the three of us, and now we are discussing about it. But there are some points because I've watched it 20 years ago when it came out. Italy was the first place after Japan that broadcasted it, and I watched it again 10 years ago, and I watched it again yesterday.
Why do you think that Italy was the first to broadcast it?
It was there is a strange connection with Italy and Japan, and because of maybe it was cheap in the 70s, 80s to have Japanese media. We had this quick connection, and we had a manga in the middle of the 90s and anime really early, like talking about early 80s. So through all my teen years and when I was a kid, I was watching these amazing cartoons, and they were all Japanese. So maybe like in the UK where you're from, it was more like local culture, local productions, and of course in the communist Poland is a totally another story. You were like back in 1950s in there, I guess. But I think it's funny to be the three of us here because, I mean, I know this series very, very quite well. And Joseph, I've seen it before, but a lot of anime. But this is really the first time you are diving in.
I'd seen a couple of years ago the first couple of episodes, but for some reason I didn't carry on. I wasn't sure why. Thinking about it, recently, but having rewatched it, it's nice. It's nice to go back into an anime, and it's exciting, to watch one, and that it's influential. These are the things that really influence our work and artistic work and our illustration and animation. It's kind of nice going back to the source, and looking at it with some different perspective or something. It's it's a pleasure, and it's nice to do it with with the three of us and have this discussion. I think it's a good way to deconstruct it.
Exactly. And the third element of this conversation is Robert, which we invited because he's a friend of us, of course, a friend of Bawnjourno, but has basically zero history of anime watching and manga watching and Japanese content. So it was a funny test case to have somebody like him watching it like us, like we were watching on the same time on the couch and have this conversation. So maybe we can start with that. What was your first impression?
Yeah.
Was it like you expected it or wasn't it?
It was a bit different. I mean, I know some anime. I know the Ghibli studio and the movies from them. So more like for you know, there are Ghibli, there are for kids, maybe a bit older kids, but this one is definitely for adults, and it's because it's very graphic, and it's
Yeah.
and it's very black and gloomy and noir. So so that's why it's very different. Um, and then I know that this anime has this version for adults, but basically I was I was not really aware, and so yeah, a bit like as Gabri said, it's a bit ignorant to this topic. But that's why it's interesting to be exposed to something new. Um, and so it's 98, right? It was for the first time was in Japan, right? Yeah,
Yes,
because yeah, because it's so it's not that old, yeah, but it has it has this I mean, when I was watching it, had this, like, I felt like it's has this vibe maybe like from 80s on one hand. It had a bit of a vibe of this like Blade Runner, and there's this dystopian world.
Mm.
And and it's funny combination to have to have this the Wild Wild West, right, and the Western movies on one side, and on the other hand you have this kind of a Star Wars vibe as well, with this all this battles and spaceships and so on. So yeah, interesting combination. um yeah
Coming from Poland when you were a kid, would you would you say you were exposed much to, well, anime, or a lot of cartoons, or things like that? Was it, is it
yeah
quite
I'm
popular
not
on
a
television, or?
Yeah, I'm not a like really perfect example because we didn't have a cable TV at my home, but it wasn't just my home. I know the other kids, they had a cable TV, and in the 90s, and they were watching the VHS, and the 90s it was big, and they were like people were watching a lot of this um, um, you know classical things and movies from US. It was of course always a delay of like a year or two when it came
Yeah.
to Poland, but it was the people were watching it, and of course everyone was eager to consume this kind of things because there was not there before, but we didn't have it, and so MTV was there as well, and there were some other cable TVs, and it was there, but I was not part of it. I was not part of my
Yeah,
my
but
childhood.
on terrestrial TV, what we'd say in the UK, just channels 1 to 5.
Mm,
It wasn't, yeah, what you're saying, it wasn't on television in that
no,
sense. It was like
no,
something you'd have to pay to view, or say
correct.
buy VHS. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it was more like it was like more underground, and of course the anime was there, and I know there were kids and like kids and young adults, and the thing was, and there were comics and magazines and stuff, and there was
Yeah,
but it was not a mainstream. It was kind of a niche thing, but
yeah.
but there was this thing, but I wasn't part of it.
yes. I think it's good. Maybe we can talk about a little bit about Cowboy Bebop as a series. It is indeed from 1998, and the studio behind is a Japanese studio called Sunrise, which is very well known because of Gundam, which is one of these basically this Star Wars of anime from 1979, and that created, it was like a space opera with this gigantic robot who were driven by teens basically, and that one was combined with these huge sales of models that are still existing today. They have even a nickname Gunpla, which is like this Gundam models, and which is of course a huge business, and that's why Bandai and is still producing it heavily. So this studio started at this history, and the director of the series director of Cowboy Bebop, Watanabe Shinichiro, used to work on Gundam and on Macross, which was like one of the biggest robot series that came in the West, especially in the US. So it's like a big influence in the US, but like in Italy we had already Gundam, so we actually missed Macross. We went like from Gundam to Evangelion, but in the US you have this Macross history, and and he also participated in Escaflowne, which is also a 90s series, also really interesting. Maybe for a future episode, who knows? And so, and he had this idea. So basically, it was asked, okay, so you have to imagine you have a situation with this broadcaster with a lot of content. Like every day there is like a new series starting or happening. They have seasons. Now it's huge and everything is happening at the same day as in Japan. You can watch it if you want. But that time, of course, there was a huge lag. So you get what you get. I got it from MTV. It's funny that you say it. It was like a terrestrial TV, like normal. I didn't have to pay anything. It was just maybe a 9 o'clock show or something. And so that was the same. I believe it was in the evening. So in Japan, they have like segments for audiences. And this is like in the sort of young adult from 16 on. And in manga, they call it seinen. And in anime, you could say it's the same as Akira or Ghost in the Shell, but maybe less hard than those anime. But still, with as we can going to talk about, there is drugs, there is some sexual tension, there are some adult elements in there. So it's really different from Pokemon or something.
Yeah.
That
it was stopped at some point in Japan because it was considered to be too brutal, too violent.
Yeah, this one wasn't really, but so basically how it started, it's like, okay, Bandai told them, okay, we need to have a spaceship story. Do you have a spaceship story for us? Because we want to sell spaceships models. And they're like, hey, yeah, I have one. And as you can imagine, in Japan, it's all really, before you become a director of a series, you have to be a director of episodes. And this is exactly what he did. He did all this. This guy did all this path, and then he was high enough to do this series and bring his own ideas. And so then they made a test, but they were like, hey, this is not really what we're looking for. But then there was this corner of the music, because they have this jazz music in there, and basically compensated this not existent model sales with CD sales of these jazz albums. So basically, this is the starting point, and we are jumping in. It's really an handmade show, like it's cell and drawn cells. Backgrounds are made in poster paint, also by this amazing artist. Every time you see these backgrounds, city streets, it's all a painting actually. So it's amazing to think about it.
I think that's what we both really enjoy about Miyazaki's work as well, isn't it? This sort of analog, kind of almost pre-digital, still this hand-drawn elements. I know me and Gabby really like that kind of artistry, and yeah, Bebop still has that feel, right?
Yeah, I agree. Visually, it's really nice. Because that's what I was saying, that it's 98, but it feels to be older because it has this kind of a sentimental kind of a vibe of the old cartoon.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna. Go on, Gab.
No, yeah, maybe you can say, yeah, go on.
No, I was just wanted to break down what it meant, Cowboy Bebop, the two terms, because I thought that was quite interesting. And what does that mean? It's quite a strange title in a way. And so I just did some research as well. And of course, we know what cowboys are. Traditionally, someone who herds cattle in America, cowboy. But I guess we all kind of, when we think of a cowboy, we do think of these old westerns and these bounty hunters and this kind of Wild West and this kind of rough environment where there's no law and it's a kind of frontier. So there's that element to it. And then Bebop actually, well, in the series it is the name of the ship, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But Bebop is actually a jazz
subgenre.
Subgenre from the 40s in the US, and it's famous for its like fast tempo, its complex chords. I think it's quite progressive. It's a lot of improv. So I guess they're trying to kind of work with that in the series as well. How does that apply to the series? And it has that, the jazz element is a massive part of the anime.
Yeah.
You know, I think.
And who brought it? I mean, was the idea like before? And then I mean, they put it in the name of the series. So apparently,
Yeah.
it's
I found out that the musician who composed all of the music, Yoko Kanno, or Kanno Yoko, I'm not sure which way around you pronounce it.
It's a female. Yeah.
Yeah, well, she formed the band the Seatbelts, and they made composed and performed the music for the show, and
it's all Japanese band.
I believe, yeah. But actually, the interesting thing, well, there's two things. One, usually anime has a kind of J-pop soundtrack. This kind of quite, I don't know, it feels a little bit sort of tacky kind of, music. It doesn't really work. But this is something a bit more contemporary. It's a bit more adult themed. Feels like you could listen to this and at a dinner party, and I don't think. Yeah, and people wouldn't question like, oh, what's this from? You know, they'd be like, okay, this is really nice jazz. Who's this? And actually, the point I was going to make was that they actually composed the music before a lot of the other elements. I think before any of the story, before a lot of the characters and the design and all those parts of the music was really a big part of the forming of the anime and the foundation. And I think they kind of built up from that upwards. Well, that's how I perceived it when I sort of did some research.
Yeah, I mean, definitely there is like some vintage elements. You see immediately first scene, we're jumping in, first scene, you have this really noir, black and white, slow tempo, church bells, dun, dun, and Spike walking. And it's like they're just showing a little bit of a backstory. We don't know that much about it. We're just seeing that it's coming in and it's a church. It's really heavy. You don't think it's like this is not gonna be Pokemon. You see like, hey, this is for adults. This looks like a 1950s indeed noir movie because the way it's done. And then there's even this like, okay, the rose is red, a little bit like Schindler's List or something, you know. And then immediately kicks in the intro with this big song and this image, which is really like pop art. James Bond from the 70s, maybe, you know, like these scenes happening, this dance, like a Goldfinger, right, to these ants moving, and all this like panels, like all in one color, like all red, all blue, all green.
Yeah, it's definitely got that 60s kind of vibe to it, hasn't it? These kind of silhouettes, or this kind of you know, like you already said, these kind of detective or neo-noir kind of feel.
I think, you know, it's dropping in all these, I guess, this Watanabe had like some favorites, and it just dropped all of them in. Because also like cyberpunk is also sort of neo-noir, like Blade Runner is also like sort of 1950s detective stories, but like Casablanca, but in the future, right?
Yeah.
So it's kicks in. The song is amazing. I don't know what you think, Robert. How was it for you, like that start? So hey, what's happening?
Yeah. It's beautiful. It's very it's like a romantic also, and some kind of like, you know, some kind of with that music and with this images. It feels like it feels like it's gonna be maybe some kind of like a, you know, serious psychological drama more than, or some kind of than this kind of a science fiction you know, thriller, or so it's kind of it's throwing this I mean, everyone can I think that's what it nice is about it, that it can take the, you know, what the person prefers, and it's like it gives a lot of options to, and you can watch on the different layers, and everyone can say I like this element, or like I like this element about it. So that's this mixture of things that's I think that makes it very attractive.
Indeed. Shall we talk a bit about the characters that immediately jump in? Maybe Joe.
I wanted to, before we go to, I wanted to ask you about you, Gabri, because you said, was it like, because I said anime was there in Poland, might have said is more niche, but like from what you were saying, like was that like really because it was on MTV and everyone could watch it, you didn't have to pay it, so it was like a became like a mainstream, was like a thing that everyone in school was, you're going and everyone was talking about anime and series and stuff. Was really like that.
Yeah, it was like that. It
Okay.
was like now we had like in the afternoon we had already like when I was a small kid, there was already like ID, which is actually from Miyazaki from Studio Ghibli. It was already like when I was really like 5, 6 on TV. It was like this is for small kids. That you have ID in Switzerland, and it's all well made. And then later we had Lupin on like 2 o'clock, and then there was Ole Benji, which is Captain Tsubasa, which is the football, which is like everybody was like watching this football series because of course we love football in Italy, and
Yeah,
and
that
these
is
guys
what we
doing
call it. Yeah.
so that's still huge. And and then there were Saint Seiya, the Knights of the Zodiac, which is also really cool. I remember when I was probably 8, I was asking this little action figures from it. So there was like we actually maybe because of a chance, simply because they were cheaper, they could get them. They could get them in combination with the toys. So Berlusconi, which was in charge of the commercial TV, basically they skipped the American stuff. We had we had Transformers, we had GI Joe, but this was nicer. It was nicer quality. So I think we didn't know exactly what was from Japan, maybe.
Oh
I
yeah.
think because we
But
were
it was
talking. We were talking about this recently, me and Gab, um, about Italy having a lot of anime, and he was
manga.
saying
How was in
and
UK
manga.
then in comparison to?
Well, I was just going to quickly say that because of Berlusconi, right? That actually, I think compared to the UK, Italy was way more open to these kind of sexualized or violent cartoons in daytime TV, and I think in the UK we were a bit more I don't know, not traditional is not the right word, but
Conservative.
conservative, yeah. And so actually we didn't really get a lot of those over.
Funny.
I think it wouldn't have been passed by the
No,
broadcasters.
I wouldn't say they're like. I would say Italy is also, or at least it was in the past, conservative, right? Like not, or like Berlusconi was were the at least from
But
his
not so much sexual
official.
violence. If
Yeah,
something sells, he was
Okay,
open
okay,
for it.
okay. In that way, all right, yeah.
yeah. We had I think more like French productions, which had a kind of they looked Japanese in the way they were drawn,
Mm,
but and I always imagined that they were from there. But when I was older and I did I looked on Wikipedia and things, it was like produced in France or
mm,
Germany or other parts of Europe.
mm,
But yeah, I think as a kid, the biggest thing I think to start was like Pokemon or Transformers we had.
yeah.
Um, but there wasn't as much, wasn't such a wide range that they had in Italy.
Captain Tsubasa, that was the
Yeah.
huge thing in Poland, and like there it is for my and a lot of people from my generation, and they still refer to it and you can find like a fan pages on Facebook and people quoting it and stuff. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that of course was a big thing. And for example, we also had in English it's called the Feast of the North Star, Okuto no Ken, Ken il Guerriero in Italian, and then it was like super violent, and it was really like at 6 o'clock on TV. Like there was like a guy pressing a point in your body and let the enemy explode, and you see, okay, they were making like with the light behind, so you will see just like a shadow, but like this enemy divided into. It was pretty gory, and even I mean that was technically on a youth manga, but in the 80s they were not having that many problems. In Japan, they have a different sensibility. So for
Mm.
sexual and violence, especially in the 80s, they were
That's
pretty
a
far.
that's a funny thing because I just finished the Murakami book, Norwegian Wood, and it was and the plot is also it's happening like I think in the 60s or something,
Yes.
and I also was kind of shocked that there were so from the sexual point of view and stuff, and there were just teenagers, they're the characters, and it's like that the Japan was so uh yeah, so tolerant and so open, and then he was talking about this stuff, and it seems like that there was kind of a normal thing for the teenagers at that time in Japan. And I would never say that Japan, no, I would never consider Japan to be like that. And it's, apparently it also then goes also with other stuff, and violence also in other in other media and cartoons and so on. So you think like I would think like Japan would be very like conservative, patriarchal, and kind
But
of
is it
traditional society, but no, apparently not. And at least from the, from those experiences, limited
is it
experiences.
the case that when it's a cartoon, inverted commas, or like in Japan, an anime,
Mm,
that they can bypass those things, that they can have it ultra violent and gore and blood and sexualized. But if it's a film or if it's with live
I
action, is it the other way around? I'm not
I
not
know
really sure.
I know that they have also this gangster movies, yeah, how they call the Takeshi Kitano was one of the
Yeah, yeah,
directors, and what is the Japanese
Yakuza.
Japanese Yakuza, yeah, yeah, and they were extremely violent, extremely
yeah,
like chopping the fingers and stuff, and then like
yeah.
you wouldn't see that on the American movie, yeah, and then there were those kind of images were there, so yeah,
I
Yeah,
guess
but
it's all
yeah,
about also in the if you think about video games, Mortal Kombat, it's all about if the ratings are there, if you have a parent teacher association or politicians really
mm,
making a point out of it, and this is what happened in the 90s in the US, and I
mm,
guess maybe UK, you also had like a BBC, or they were also like self-censoring stuff. And maybe in Italy they were like, okay, whatever it sells, we don't care, and in Japan as well. But for example, I know that in 2010 they made like a law they couldn't depict anymore
mm,
like underage sex stuff like that, even in manga. And then
mm,
they were like creator really pissed off, but at the end they passed, and maybe for it's at the
mm.
end good.
yeah. I
How is
guess.
it?
Uh, Sorry, Robert. I guess the thing the point I was trying to make was that of course you have those violent movies in Japan, and you have violent British movies as well.
Mm,
But it's when in the day is it shown?
yeah, yeah,
After
of
the
course.
watershed, after 9 p.m., you can show certain things, and I was wondering if maybe in Japan the kind of anime can be shown all day long, even though, and so you got children, from all ages watching it,
Mm,
because they just categorize it as a kind of cartoon regardless. Whereas in the UK, they certainly wouldn't have shown any. You wouldn't have any blood. You wouldn't have any swearing. You'd have nothing like that until after 9 p.m. regardless. And so
mm,
that's what I was just wondering, because I remember when I was a kid watching Miyazaki films, and I remember in Spirited Away,
mm.
there's the dragon like spews blood out of its mouth and things, and my dad mentioned, he said, yeah, well, that's in this kind of Japanese films,
Style.
it's not seen in the same way that the
Mm,
West sees it in.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's the case. It's the same. Huh? I mean, they perceive, of course, anime. It's not a genre. It is just a medium that they use it, and then they have different target audiences, and I'm sure there is like different time slots like they do now in the US. They also have like Adult Swim showing like adult animation in the evenings, and
Mm,
so but of course before maybe the rules were a little less tighter, and they were less they care less about what in the West were thinking, and
mm,
now they're making maybe a slight they think slightly about it, but still they don't care that much because they're still under 20 million people. So their core market is always Japan. So they
mm,
always and then it's like everything that sells abroad is for them extra, but it's
mm,
never the main point.
mm.
So shall we go
And
back to the or
mm.
if you want to have a last comment,
I
please.
want I last comment. Like I was just wondering, like so because the Joe was saying that okay, this is like this kind of images. Yeah, this is something. Yeah, you can see in the Japanese movie, but you will not be able to see it in the Western world. Cartoons. And so indeed, like you have a lot of violence or extreme violence, like like and graphic stuff. And but a society, the Japanese society, they're not violent at all. Yeah, like criminal rate in Japan, I think, is one of the lowest in the world. And they quite often they say, yeah, like, oh, because in like in US, like kids are watching these violent movies and cartoons and stuff and video games, and that's the reason why we have so much violence in the real world and shootings and stuff. But it doesn't in Japan, that does not apply. You have those like the long tradition, right, of this violence on the TV, on the screens, but it does not mean that you're gonna be violent in the reality. So that's funny. I mean, maybe that's it's done about it to say something about the Japanese society, or maybe in general, that's that violence on the TV or and in the art, that don't necessarily mean that it's people will get inspired and do it the same on the street.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point, isn't it? Because you could say, well, it's more extreme in Japan, like for those elements. But I guess maybe it's also that they're repressed more as a people, and so maybe they want to, but they don't commit those acts because it's because of the sense of honor, or it's like shame and more about the family. I'm not sure, but it could be that American society is just way more violent. The people are just more violent in their actions. I don't know. Like it's a good point, right?
Yeah, sure. All right, guys. We have these two characters showing up in a. We are now in the Bebop, in this spaceship in the middle of the space, and these two characters shows up. Who are they? What do you think?
Yeah,
about
Robert,
them?
do you remember the names?
I think the main one, right? The Spike, right?
Yeah,
sure.
And the other one, his friend, I don't remember the name. The one who's cooking, right?
Jet.
Yeah.
Jet, yeah.
The big one, yeah. That's.
I think in that first scene, when you see them, again going back to the music, you get this kind of really nice harmonica piece.
Oh yeah.
And it's quite blissful, and kind of serene and calm.
Yeah.
And so within a few,
it reminds me Ennio Morricone and the spaghetti westerns.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's already starting to set the scene. But already from the minute you watch the episode, you've gone from these three different kind of paces, and then this really intense intro scene with the credits, and then you're going to this relaxing harmonic kind of slow. And I thought that's quite interesting. It's edited like quite bluntly in that way. And you see there's a lot of shadows, a lot of light and dark elements. It really is.
We discovered really quickly a little bit about those guys, indeed, that they are bounty hunters, right? Yeah. And they don't have that much money, right?
Yeah.
They mess up.
No beef in the meal.
There's no beef in the meal, and the last time they got a bounty, but basically all the money has to go away, right? So then we have it shows up the first bounty, and then we have immediately a reference, because the one who's showing up for 2.5 million Wulong is called Asimov, which is of course one of the biggest science fiction writers. But and this guy,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Isaac Asimov. It's like together with Philip K. Dick is basically they are two of the classical ones. They have all these robots stories. So then, of course, it's a small reference. Then there's another reference when you see Spike walking in this cylindrical path.
This 2001 The Space Odyssey kind of reference of this Stanley Kubrick movie, and actually that was at the time was also it was pioneering in its cinematography. and its techniques, and the way they made those scenes in space, it was just incredible. I don't think they had done anything like that before. And so you see that direct kind of how do you say, like a nod. The director is nodding to those and saying, look, this is informed what you're about to watch, or informed the whole series, these kind of things. It's really nice to see that. Just, it's only a few seconds, that clip, right? He's walking.
Yeah, if I recall well, is coming back in the coming episodes. Yeah, and then basically, okay, they decide to go for this small bounty, and this is in Tijuana, which is of course in Mexico, and so in this asteroid called Tijuana, TJ, and and then they go there, and this is, of course, there's a sort of Mexican theme on it.
Funny.
Yeah.
And Spike is going to now before Spike. We cut, and then we have like a one scene of another movie, right, Joe?
Robert. I'm also curious if you kind of picked up on that, but you have this kind of you have Asimov and his I guess partner, wife, girlfriend, and they are basically walking into this saloon.
Okay, wait! I stop you there. Yeah. What about this girl? What do you think, Robert, when you saw this?
Well, what did I think about the girl? It was a nice girl. She looked like a Claudia Cardinale character. Yeah, with in her dress and her. She doesn't look Asian. She looks like more like Latino. Or something. So that's a nice scene when they walk in. Yeah, indeed. They working in the bar. That's like a classical scene you could see in a Western movie.
Yeah, and it's and they come in. You have this bar setting. You have the three drunk guys on the table.
Playing cards.
And then you have the barman and everything, and it's everyone's sort of a bit quiet, and it's a bit strange and awkward and whispering kind of vibe. But it's like me and Gabby were talking about earlier. We think, and it most certainly is a reference to Desperado by Robert Rodriguez. These two characters, and I guess it's almost like Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek, kind of these two.
No, I'm just wondering, is it timing okay? Because I don't know. It was the Desperados. Was it before?
Yeah, it's 1995.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
So that's possible, right?
And she's curvy, and it's quite funny because actually. You probably noticed as well. There's one scene in Cowboy Bebop.
Is she curvy, or is she pretending to be pregnant, or is she pregnant? I was not sure.
Yeah, but then there's this scene, and it's only a few seconds long, and it's literally half of the frame is her breasts on the bar, and the other half is of these three guys drinking, and it's literally takes up half of the screen. So it's there's something.
She's curvy.
Yeah. That's called fan service. Yeah, that's called the fan service. They do it sometimes in Japan. Like they made like this one frame, one panel. That's really just to please the fans.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Adolescents.
Stop it. Enjoy it later.
But that's also interesting, right? Because I guess that's what a lot of people who haven't watched anime or read manga also know, that the women quite often over-sexualized in this way. That's how I would assume the public perceive it, and because I guess the demographic is guys, teenagers, young men, that kind of thing. That's who's watching it, or would have watched it originally. What do you think, Gab? Do you think that's
definitely.
a fair statement?
It's part of a tradition, They always have this hot chick, but it's not empty, and she is smart, and we will see later.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Yeah, no,
I mean, I
she's
think she's
yeah.
really charming. You mean you see immediately,
Mm.
and then there's immediately this link of another adult element, which is like they're making basically a password to unlock the drugs, right?
Mm.
They say, oh, I'm ordering a beer, I'm ordering a Bloody Mary, and then they're like, huh? Let's have a look in the back if I have, still have some vodka to leave, right?
Tomato juice. Because he was lacking tomato juice. Oh, he had the vodka,
Yeah.
but he didn't have tomato juice.
Yeah,
the
that's it.
red one.
Yeah, the red part, the red element.
Yeah, and then basically we go into the backstory of this guy, because apparently he left his syndicate, like his mafia, and he stole all this sort of power enhancing drug, right? Sort of 1970s amphetamines or something that you can put it directly in your eye, and then you get sort of timely superpower, right?
Yeah, it's almost like super speed, like that he can see things almost in slow motion. I guess they don't really show that. Like they do show him fighting, but
he avoids the bullet. Like the bullet is coming in, and he manages to.
Yeah, kind of like a Matrix sort of thing, maybe as well.
Oh yeah.
In a way, yeah, but it's I guess it's this futuristic drug. I guess it's kind of what you say, amphetamine or cocaine or something. You know, this black market drug that they're trying to sell.
Is the topic of this drug? Is it like is it gonna continue in other episodes, or it was just this one? Because it looks like a big thing, right? That there were just kind of like a
I think
black market for the.
No, it is this time, but I mean the power of syndicate, because basically it's like you have cops behind him and also the mob. So then plus the bounty hunters. So yeah, it is a man on a hunt, and then we have this scene with a Spike meeting this basically Cherokee, like Indian, like Native American guy, and that is telling him there is death in your future, but you have to go to this north side of the of the village. And then he said, oh, I've been dead already once. And then it's just like about his backstory. We don't know much about now, but in this small interview we saw him bleeding, right, when he was in church.
It feels like he's familiar with this guy as well, right? It doesn't feel like this is the first time he spoke to him. It feels like they already know each other. That's what I picked up on.
Yeah, it looks a bit like indeed like when they go in the Matrix, when they go to the Oracle. Right? Yeah, and by the way, this Watanabe did a couple of scenes, a couple of episodes of this Animatrix, not this anime from Matrix. There was like this video after the Matrix. I don't know if you ever watched it.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that he directed some of those.
Yeah, and so they're gone, right? And Jet comes in the same bar, and he finds two goons on the ground. Then he heard a little bit more of the backstory, and what happens? Spike has to try to fly to the north side, and then he has to go to the gasoline, right, to tank his. We can talk about this. He has this beautiful sort of bike jet, right? That's called a swordfish, like a red spaceship he uses for his own. And it works like a motorcycle, right? Because
so the main spaceship, the Bebop, is always in orbit, right? I assume, or does that land?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's always it's a big one, and then
they have these smaller, like sort of landing craft, right? Yeah.
Both of them indeed, and so then you have this first meeting with.
Robert, what did you think about that fight between Spike and Asimov when they're kind of outside the bar, around the tables, because he. Oh, hang on. I'm maybe getting confused.
Yeah, that's the second time.
That's it. Maybe I'm jumping.
Yeah.
Jumping.
When
first time they're at the toilet.
The sombrero when he's.
Okay, yeah. So before that, before all of that, of course, they are in the
They
toilet.
meet
They're
up in
bumping into
the
each other.
gas station. Then he is chatting. There's no. It seems like he didn't notice him, right? And the other guy was really stressed. Asimov was really stressed. Then he crossed his wife outside, and then she drops her groceries, and then you have this comic relief moment, right? Because Spike basically picks one sandwich and put it totally in his mouth.
Yeah.
And then you see her face like this is really like a manga face, like, hey, what the fuck are you doing, right?
Yeah. That was funny.
Yeah,
he saw most of it. He put something in his mouth, but also so he helped her, but also he managed to steal something because he was hungry.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, and I think in this kind of small things you can see the rough, where this character is coming from, which is one of the favorite character of Watanabe was Lupin the Third, and he has this kind of personality. He's like womanizer, is really handy, and looks a little bit like him actually.
Who is Lupin the Third?
Yeah, Lupin.
Who is that?
Spike. Spike is the. Now Watanabe loved Lupin the Third, the character, the anime series.
Okay, it's an anime series. I don't know it.
Yeah. There is an anime series, and also Miyazaki. It's also the Castle of Cagliostro. It's about Lupin the Third. It's was like a long movie, and Miyazaki also directed some episodes of the anime series. I think now they're really making like a 5th season, but basically it's from the 80s. It was even like an early manga, completely different. But okay, for example, that one was also in Italy. Was really at 2:00. Was a really similar character. And but okay, they have this chat with her, and basically she's letting through that she wants to go to Mars, right, where is he actually from.
So Gab, you were saying about this that they want to go to Mars, Asimov and his girlfriend, his wife, and that Spike is actually born on Mars. Yeah. So that also, I guess, that also kind of gives us some sense of how far in the future it might be as well, maybe.
Yeah. So Mars seems to be like a promised land, like the best place to be in the universe, right? Like after the Earth was destroyed, the best life is on Mars.
Yeah, but we don't know that yet. No, of course you read somewhere, but if you...
Yeah, but I mean that's because I thought all the time I thought she's pregnant, and then she was like, they want to go to Mars. I mean, both of them, right? They were trying to escape and get the money, right, to go there.
Yeah.
So it seems to be like, and then Spike was also saying that there's a good life there, but only for rich people. Yeah, so apparently you need to have a lot of money. As long as you have a lot of money, you go to Mars and you have a comfortable life there. So it's kind of that we're already
right.
Yeah, we get the feeling about where they're heading to, of course. But then Asimov comes back and basically he almost kills him, but she says she asks him to stop, right? Because it's just a small fry, and he's also giving away that he was a bounty hunter.
Yeah. No, well, I want to like that actually that because there is, I mean, from that scene when she dropped this groceries and he was helping her to pick them up, and they had this, and there was this joke there, and then when there was another scene when she was telling Asimov to stop, to not to kill the Spike. I think that was one of the nicest thing, like because something was not obvious, that she's a girlfriend of this black character or the criminal they were supposed to catch, but then she's having some kind of a thing with the Spike, and it was like it's very subtle. It's like it's not he's lying on the floor like half dead, and she's getting in with the girlfriend is getting in the car, and then she's saying, I don't know, she's like saying adios or something, and they look at each other. And that's that's a kind of a nice thingy. I mean, like it doesn't really mean anything, but it's
Why do you think? Why do you think that she saved his life? Because yeah, well,
yeah, I don't
what
know
do you think?
really. Yeah, you would think that maybe there would be something there later with them, but um, maybe because he was from Mars, and then she kind of felt like a connection with him. Like, yeah, maybe he's from the same planet, or I don't know. She seems to kind of like him.
Yeah, although he was making her laugh a little bit, right? There's this kind of you can when Asimov comes into the scene, they're chatting and she's like quite relaxed, and obviously
Mm.
they're getting on. Maybe maybe that was it. That she was in this kind of
Yeah,
she's in this kind of violent relationship, and
yeah,
suddenly there's a guy who's actually being sweet to her, and
yeah.
maybe that's why. I'm not sure
Yeah,
as
because
well.
Asimo is really serious. So he seems to be really focused, and I think she's a
Yeah.
bit of also she might be even afraid of him because he's clearly addicted to this
Drug.
drug or something. Yeah, and I think that's not something she's happy about, or she seems to be like a bit
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good reading of the situation. And just before when he let Spike fell, when Asimov let Spike falling, then he steals one vial, right, of his
Yeah.
drug without, and they, off they go, right?
Mm,
Then Jet comes up and is telling how difficult it is to find this guy. Maybe we have to stop it,
mm,
but they know where to find him again. So then we have the rendezvous, the second meeting,
I
and then
want
there is
to
also another reference.
interject something before we get to
Yeah,
that,
sure.
because when he's on the floor,
Yeah,
when he's passed out on the floor, he has there's a cigarette on the floor right next to him burning,
mm,
and it was a really nice. There's a really nice scene because it then cuts to him kind of coming through, or you know, and to represent that passing of time, they showed this cigarette had burnt all the way down to the butt.
true.
And I thought that was kind of a nice way of showing, okay, this is how long he's been unconscious, or whatever. And it was like just with this subtle kind of cue or something of the cigarette being completely burnt down. It's really subtle, but it does. Yeah, I thought that's a really smart way of the director
Yeah,
saying that this is passage of time
yeah,
in this anime. Instead of saying 20 minutes later or other cues, it was like a really nice cue. So anyway, yeah.
yeah,
yeah, I
true.
missed
I
that.
noticed that as well. No, no, it is there. So and there's a cigarette and the lighter next to it, and it looks like also the cigarettes are a big part of the like of the style, yeah, of the Spike, yeah, that he's always with his cigarette, and it's kind of his style in his sign, cigarette in his mouth.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, and then there is the second rendezvous basically, and somehow Asimov expects him to be somebody buying drugs, and then he's dressed up with this sombrero and this big, would you call it? Like poncho, poncho.
Poncho, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and that's also a reference from indeed Sergio Leone, Clint Eastwood movies, right?
yeah, yeah. Direct reference, yeah.
Mm,
And yeah, but then it goes wrong. They have this really fight, and then I was also reading, you know, because in the saloon is beating everybody really quick, really easily, right? And instead in this fight, basically Spike has the upper hand quite fast, so it also gives us a way that he's really good fighter, right? In this
Mm.
situation.
yeah,
Even
that
though,
was
yeah,
because well, that's the thing. Well, because in the previous scene, like the Asimov almost killed him, right? And he couldn't do anything, and then he passed out. He was on the floor. And on the next scene, when they were fighting, they were I mean, then the Spike was actually better and winning. So like, why he was? Did he took the drug, and that's why he was so good? Like in the second, I don't I don't know. Yeah, because I was a bit like, oh yeah, so why he's now so good and actually better than Asimov in fighting?
Yeah, I didn't read that he had taken the drug. I just
No.
I read Spike's characters kind of a little bit on the straight, straight and narrow. He's just talented, and you see him training a lot. I think the point is that Asimov is on a drug that enhances his speed, and yet Spike still can kind of easily, take him. So
Yeah.
it says something about him. But I was going to ask you earlier, and I say now, like about that scene when they're fighting then, and I sort of just was curious what you thought about that scene, Robert, because it's slightly different in a way, and I was just curious what you thought about it. This kind of fight scene outside this bar with the two.
Not sure. I mean,
Or maybe it didn't have. Maybe it didn't. It didn't have a click for you. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was visually attractive. It was then because they were fighting with the fists and kicks, so there was a bit more like a like a kung fu karate thingy. Yeah, and there was and now the way they showed it and the move of the fist, and I think there was one of the scenes when there was like a kind of a slow motion and fist coming in, and then he was smashing his face, and then you see that like how how damaged his face is, and that was cool, and that was well done. Yeah.
No, it's just for me because it was just because you get this kind of light-hearted music playing as well. It's not the music isn't aggressive, and what I like about it is it's kind of it's like a dance. It's quite it's kind of like a choreographed dance in a way. It's like everything, all these movements and this kind of gestures and things. I thought it was quite a nice kind of scene.
Yeah, I think it was also some point moving on the side, like doing some Bruce Lee movement, like Muhammad Ali dance, right? Like I think like this feet moving. Yeah. There's like a moment you see like half, like a bit.
But the drawing in the anime in that sense is really dynamic, as well. You get these really elongated shapes and movements on the screen and stuff. It's not rigid, it feels it feels like it flows as well. It's really nice.
Yeah, and then basically the mob comes in, right, and they have to fly away, and then there's a chase scene, and
who are the people who they like, the people in the car who didn't like with the guns? Who are they? Is this police, or is this syndicate, or
this is the syndicate?
Okay.
And then at the end, outside of the asteroids, those are the cops.
Okay.
So they're really behind them.
So they're fighting with everyone. The cops, they're syndicate,
and then you see.
Yeah, so they get away, don't they? Right? If I can remember, they get away on the ship, and then Jet saves Spike.
No, they get away, and then
they basically they have this kind of dogfight, right? Between Spike or slash
the Catherine, the Asimov's girlfriend. They hitchhike.
They have a fight, right, with the two of them.
Yeah.
Asimov and his wife. And at the end, she understands this basically completely mentally lost, right? And so she kills him just a second before the cops destroy the spaceship. So. It's sort of I read also like it was sort of Bonnie Clyde reference, also like they going straight into the basically the block from the police, and then
Well, she knows that there's no way out of this, and he's just like enhancing this drug, thinking that that's the answer, and so it's completely lost control. But there's also a scene where he gets quite aggressive towards her, right? Because we find out that she's not pregnant. That this belly is actually just full of all of these capsules, these drugs, and it was just a ruse, and she accidentally spills some on the floor, and he's like, don't do that. Like, what does he say? Like, they're worth a fortune or they're our future or whatever. And you see that it's like, oh, this isn't a healthy. Definitely isn't a healthy relationship. But yeah, but when you in this last scene when they're kind of going to their fate, I thought the drawing of Asimov, it gets more and more distorted. He has this really, he has this really vivid like grin, and his teeth are kind of grinding together, and you see all these wrinkles in his sweat and his eyes and this whole like grotesque face. It's really kind of pulsating, and then you see his girlfriend, and she's still kind of quite calm in a way. She has this kind of calm complexion, and she's still kind of elegant in a way. And I thought that was a nice juxtaposition of the two, these two people.
Yeah, I think she knew that he's lost. I mean, that's that they are escaping, but I think she knew that it's there. There's no future there because he's maybe addicted, and whatever happens there, there's no happiness for them. So she was. It's kind of was this thing. It was kind of a suicidal, and for her it was just maybe more like a relief actually, and it's just that was an escape, and that was the only way out.
Yeah,
and then basically everything runs up, and we are back in the Bebop, and Jet is cooking, and Spike is training and thinking. And,
it cuts quite fast from this kind of intense action scene, doesn't it? And there's quite a blunt cut to them. This is just like almost like a day-to-day thing, but you do see that Spike is affected by it because it cuts to him when she dies and their ship explodes and the police blow them up. That he is like. Well, I got the sense that he is emotional about that. It's like he didn't want that to happen, particularly to her.
Yeah, that's the thing.
It's like, mate, he's
and he's not. So that one's serving him food, and so it's ready. I mean, where he's not there, right? And because he's not thinking about the food because he's kind of
he's staring, isn't he? He's staring. He's staring out the window into space. And I kind of got the sense that he was in his thoughts. Maybe he's depressed. Maybe he's like. There's something more going on in Spike's head. He's not this kind of how do you say this archetypal bounty hunter who's just like ruthless and
cold-blooded.
Cold-blooded. That's it. It's like I don't know because I haven't finished the series. I've only seen episodes 1 and 2, but I think there's a lot of character development already. Just in that, you start to really ask questions. You're questioning these people, their past and their future and stuff.
And then we have the end song, black and white, da 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 da, really slow, and these images like postcards, right? Sort of black and white Paris, and
I thought that final credits. The final credits was for me probably I don't want to say the worst part of the episode, but it kind of felt out of sync with the rest. It kind of felt like they were going back to this kind of traditional, this kind of anime that we all expect. A little bit cheesy ending with these kind of montage things. I don't know. How did you feel about it? Because I thought it didn't really fit so well.
I don't recall it actually. I have to go back.
You know why? Because Netflix cuts it.
Oh yeah.
Immediately, it's like
you have to say what.
Jump to the next episode really, and then I was like, oh, is it that old one or is it this one?
Yeah, it's okay. But maybe it's good. Like like a recap and maybe have a final impression. Was it, Robert, what you expected really? When you started it, or was it?
Yeah, I mean because I don't have any background in anime, so I was like I didn't really have expectations. I mean that's the final impression is that is this, you have this mixture, this collage of different styles and different different vibes, and so it's also from the from the like coloring point of view, from the pictures and images, yeah, from because it's like a Western world and the Star Wars kind of thingy. Yeah, that's also interesting. You have the violence, but you also have a humor and yeah, and you have and yeah, and you also have this kind of, yeah, you have first female character, and so there's some mystery and something more, yeah, to what they're doing on like these hunting bunters, but there's more depth. So it was a lot of things were happening right in this 20 minutes. And yeah, but I like it, and that's kind of intriguing, yeah. And then it's like, okay, I'm that's cool that you can pick your thing and you can follow it and enjoy it, yeah. And maybe someone else would do something, would pick something different and enjoy something else. But in the yeah, everyone can have that's favorite part or favorite element from the movie. So that's the,
Did you
and
did
it's
you?
definitely want to see the next one and see how
Mm,
that develops and what happens. Yeah, so it's like it was a good it was more like a teaser, yeah, because you don't really know much about his past and
right.
why they did and so on. So, but you have a good you know that's something like appetite for more.
Was it kind of something that was it as you expected, or was it something different? Was it kind of,
I
did you
didn't
imagine
ex-
that it was going to be like this, or did you imagine it was going to be something like it's kind of
I would
Pokemon
I,
things?
I didn't expect. I thought it would be some a bit like lighter. I mean, I thought like anime. I mean, it's always like very. It is no, it's always it is dramatic with the slow motions and stuff, and it has this punching and shooting. I mean, that's what I remember. Um, um, but this one, it's dark. Yeah, it's like something like it's this uh, yeah, this kind of like a sadness and I wouldn't expect
So
from
it
anime.
made you,
But I like it. But I like
but
it
it made
because
you feel sad. Did you?
no, it
How,
make like melancholic maybe,
mm,
but in a good way. Like there's something that, and also this jazz music. I think I didn't mention that, yeah, because this jazz is there's this yeah, something uh, like in the evening, and it makes you like sit back and think about slow down and think try to think kind of reflect on the things. So
mm,
that's this kind of thing. It's like there's a big story there, and you need to take your time to digest it. Yeah, so
mm,
like it invites you for something bigger than just a pure entertainment. Yeah, they want
right.
to say
Yeah.
something more.
Yeah. So would you listen to that music?
Yeah, the thing
Would
about
you?
when
Yeah.
because I was watching on the TV and I have like
Yeah.
really shitty speakers on the TV, I need to try. Maybe I took because you were talking about the music, and I was like, yeah, I remember the music, but not that very well. Maybe I need to put the like a headphones to the TV,
Yeah.
and then because I think it's important, and like when you and it plays nicely together with those scenes and stuff, and it's a good. It enhanced the impressions, yeah,
I mean, there's only
experience.
like, I guess there's only samples of the songs in
Mm,
the episodes, not the song. But if you on YouTube or something, you can listen to the,
On Spotify.
yeah, or
mm,
Spotify, the original
mm,
soundtrack.
mm.
And yeah, I like listening to it like when I'm working and stuff.
Oh yeah, no.
Some of the songs have a completely different feel, but some of them are really, yeah, like emotive and have this kind of melancholic feel to them. And I'd recommend it just as a soundtrack. It's just quite
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, and maybe it's good that for Robert that you basically you understand, if I understand well, you understood that anime could be a bit more complex than you expected,
yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I know that the anime didn't there's when you I mean, you need to get into it. You need to get a bit more educated, and then you understand more. But it's basically with like most of the arts. Yeah, the more you know, the more about it, the more you enjoy it, because you can appreciate some of the context and some more other nuances or references. But this one was really packed with all this kind of stuff.
Well, Cowboy Bebop is like, when you type on Google, like best animes, or even if you ask on Reddit, like, what anime should I start with, I have no idea. Cowboy Bebop is almost always right in the top 5 or top 10. It's like and it is known as a kind of gateway series into anime. It's really like, this is a really good place to start. I guess it'd be like, okay, you want to watch cinema, you say these people like Tarantino, and it's like, okay, these are also good gateways, and I think that's why they have a lot of those references. Sergio Leone, Tarantino, Rodriguez, Kubrick, Spielberg, George Lucas. That's all in this one episode.
Maybe it's time to wrap it up, huh?
Yeah.
What do you think, guys? You have some last notes or some point you want to make? All right.
No, I think we went over. I think we've gone over everything, right? It's been really nice to personally. It's nice to kind of look at it objectively, and not just as entertainment, and that's why I'm kind of like that me and Gabby are going to do these podcasts, because it's you can really break it down and look at it as a piece of visual culture, like I say, it's not just pure entertainment, but there's a lot of things going on, and this gives a moment to reflect. And it's nice that you wanted to join us, and and hopefully it's kind of like lit a spark or lit a fire inside of you. Maybe it makes you think, then my preconceptions have been challenged.
No,
and
definitely. Thanks, guys, for bringing this in, and I'm really happy. I mean, it's something like, it's new, and you might feel like, okay, it's something. I don't know, do I really want to go it, and do I want to really explore this one? I mean, I've never done it before, so why should I try it? But it's always interesting to be confronted, and it's such a nice conversation. I really enjoy it. And you guys, when you know more about it, then I can also it makes me think more about it and appreciate it. So so I think that's the first episode of the ones then I'm gonna watch it again and again, and I think, and it's nice, it's 20 minutes, so you can fit it whenever you have time. You can watch 2 or 3 if you have more, or 20 minutes just in the evening, and it's a perfect.
Well, it's a relatively short series, I think, right? Because it's only was it 26?
I think it's standard like that.
Yeah.
More or less.
Okay.
Like
I just feels like nowadays, we have these series that we watch, and it's like, there's 8 seasons and there's 20 episodes a season, and it's a big commitment. So it's kind of, it does feel like if it's 20 minutes and there's only 26 to 28 episodes in a movie and things, you can almost commit to it.
It was done. It was before the Netflix, before this kind of
this
craziness of creating series after series. And then you have overload, and then you don't know. And this one, I guess there was this idea, and there was like a very well thought, and then they were not pushed to just to produce more, but actually focus on the quality and what they really want to say. So that's actually it's a good sign as well.
Yeah, it's a good point. Gabby, do you have
okay, guys? So thanks for this last words, and so you're gonna hear from us guys really soon on Bawnjourno.com, and so again. This is Gabriele Minelli, Joseph Gower, and Robert Swiatowski for this first episode of Bawnjourno Podcast. Thank you, and see you, cowboy.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Have a good one.